And now, NCBA's Cattleman to Cattleman with host Kevin Oxner.
Hello and welcome to this week's special edition of NCBA's Cattleman to Cattleman. I'm Kevin Oxner. Thanks for joining us. This week we're talking with the experts from Land O'Lakes Purina Feed about Purina's research and development efforts and how they can play a positive role in your operation. Joining me in the studio today are Steve Conrad, a Purina dealer with M&M Farm Supply of Franklin, Texas, I believe. Dr. Chance Farmer from Canyon Lake, Texas. He's a Purina Field Nutritional Consultant. Also with us today is Dr. Chris Ficario, Senior Research Scientist at the Longview Animal Nutritional Clinic there in Gray Summit, Missouri. Is that right?
That's right, Kevin.
And, of course, Rod Newlick, the Marketing Manager for the Cattle Business Group at Purina. Gentlemen, thanks for joining us today. Let's start with you, Rod. There are a lot of issues emerging in the beef cattle industry today, and I'd be interested about what Purina is doing to address some of those issues.
You bet. Kevin, you know, we've got a strong tradition at Purina of kind of having our pulse on the needs of the cattlemen and the cattle industry, and we do that with a variety of sources of information that we'll talk some about today.
Okay.
But our real strength is taking those needs and issues, and through the strength of our research that we have at Longview and our dealer distribution network, being able to deliver the solutions for those things that affect the nutrition and management of those cattle to the field and to the cattlemen and get them in their hands. You know, we really feel like it's probably as important today or maybe more important today than it ever has been to understand those needs. I mean, I know that everybody always says that. I think every generation said, well, it's never been more important than it is today. But that's still true, I think. You know, we've got a demanding consumer out there that, you know, wants a safe, nutritious product. And they're even making more demands of us from the standpoint of even how we manage those cattle and how they're cared for. And they can really act on those demands, you know, through the consolidated retailers and stuff that we have today. Mm-hmm. Those things can really put some pressure on our cattle producers to meet those demands. And so we look at those kinds of things and try to make sure that we're abreast of how we can help producers to address those things.
Outstanding. You know, both Land O'Lakes and Purina, going back for a long time, have a proud heritage in the feed business. Let's take a look back at some of that history.
Today, the Purina brand is known as a symbol of pride and leadership for producers, dealers, and the industry. When you purchase the Purina brand, you know you're purchasing quality. The Purina Mills story goes back more than 100 years and was founded on the 4 square method that still exists today. Purina Mills was founded in 1894 by a young entrepreneur named William H. Danforth. From the opening of the first beef cattle research facility in 1926 to the development of Accuration in 1971 to ongoing discoveries, Purina Mills continues to achieve significant milestones in the field of animal nutrition. Longview Animal Nutrition Center is located on 1,188 acres in Gray Summit, Missouri. It is the premier animal nutrition research and development facility in North America. No other national brand of feed has invested more time in research and understanding the needs of our customers and animals.
Mr. Danforth was very much a visionary in business, and you could also say in life. And he had what he called his 4 square philosophy of successful life, which was the mental aspects, stay sharp mentally, the physical aspects, physical activity, fitness, a spiritual aspect he felt was very important in everyone's life, and also a social part of life. In other words, a responsibility to your fellow man. And what he did was map that over to a 4 square philosophy of livestock production. And the way Mr. Danforth said it, he first was nutrition, but he called it good feeding. The second was proper sanitation, which we equate to good animal health today. The third would have been what he called good breeding, and that's the genetics that we deal with today. And then lastly, he called good management, which means creating the proper environment for the animals to perform. So today we continue with that same thought process by identifying what we would call our research and development platforms. These are the things that are most important to our livestock producers, and in our case would be the cattle producers, and everything we do here at Longview in research and development, new product, revolves around those platforms.
At the Longview Animal Nutrition Center, nutritionists, veterinarians, and managers observe firsthand the interrelationship of good feed practices, good health, proper growth and development, and optimum performance. Their commitment to research helps keep Purina on the leading edge of nutritional science.
Performance is really the biggest platform that we have. The reason why is that it covers the whole industry because we sell weight. Right? So if I'm a cow-calf guy or if I'm a feedlot operator, I sell weight. So we're looking at feed them, weigh them, efficiencies, not only in the feedlot, but for stocker cattle, for cows on reproductive rates and things like that. So that's our big one. Another one is in the area of what we call intake management. Now, a lot of us think, well, intake management may be intake limiting, but it's also how do we get cattle to eat more? Because in feedlot, if I can get them to eat more, they are going to be cattle that will gain more, and hopefully we'll have some efficiency.
That is a really good story. Steve, let's turn to you. The Purina dealer plays such an important role in the beef production chain. Can you give us some of your perspective on that?
Absolutely. We have the privilege of being with the cow-calf producers, kind of a grassroots effort, so to speak. They're the salt of the earth folks, and our job is to help them with our services, disseminate information down from the research folks, and just be there with them every step of the way.
Dr. Farmer, Purina Land O'Lakes has a number of nutritional consultants like yourself. Can you tell us a little bit about your role?
You bet. There's really three goals that we kind of adhere to if we're nutritional consultants in the field. The first thing would be more of a broad spectrum goal, and that is we are technical support to dealers like Steve Conrad and the producers that he works with, and our sales force in the local areas. That's technical support with regard to nutrition or forage management or all the things that really go into making a producer more profitable. The second and third things are really more specific to what we do at Purina. We're, as consultants, kind of the eyes and the ears in the field, such that we hear the needs in certain areas that dealers like Steve would say, hey, we have a need here in this area, or a producer says we have a need in this area, and we'll take those needs back to our marketing staff like Rod or research people like Chris. On the other side of that coin, we take some of the things that Chris develops in the research part of our business, and we help implement that in the field because it's important to have information going both ways, and we're kind of the go-between, so to speak, in that effort.
Well, Rod, so how does that work? I mean, you're getting some feedback from both local dealers and from nutritional consultants, and you're collecting that, but then what do you do with that at corporate to adjust and change how you market or what you market?
You bet. This it's very important information, and we depend on these guys very heavily because, like Steve said, they're the grassroots effort. They're in contact with those producers, so they can really hear from the heart of the producer what some of their concerns are. Most of the time, we don't hear, I need this product or that product. They're just saying, these are the challenges that I'm having, whether it be how to make better use of their land, which is really important these days, or better use of their labor resources. But what we have to find out, and to be responsible, we take that information, and that's kind of what we'd call in marketing as qualitative information. In other words, these are the concerns, but we need to find out, how prevalent is that? What's the magnitude of these needs or these issues? So we do some formal market research where we can get good statistical data that says, as we look at a profile of producers out here across the country, as we do those interviews and focus groups, we can find out how big that problem is, what it means as far as impact to the industry. And so then we can take that to our research folks and say, hey, how can we solve this, or what's the solution? And the other reason we have to do that, and Chris can tell you, I mean, we're not short on stuff to do at the Longview Animal Nutrition Center. So by doing that, we can kind of prioritize, what's most important, how can we best affect the industry, and so we use that market research to get that done.
You talk a lot about the industry, and I know you take your stewardship and actually your support of the beef cattle industry seriously, and of course, we're a big sponsor of NCBA. Can you give us your perspective on that?
Sure. It's NCBA and our membership and our involvement in NCBA is very important to us. We think that to have a good, strong voice for the cattle industry out there is really imperative. And we think that the NCBA does a great job, and so it's important for us to support that because the beef cattle business is really important to Land O'Lakes Purina Feed. But it has some side benefits. We were a founding member of the Allied Industry Council, and so I get to participate, and a lot of us get to participate in leadership meetings and, of course, conferences and conventions and all those kinds of things. And the payback for us, I guess, is we get to learn from the leadership about some of these needs and some of the things that we wouldn't otherwise probably uncover. And so we have some benefits from being in the NCBA and our participation and being active in those things and finding some things out about the industry, future needs, and how we can better serve them. So we try to use that to our advantage.
In terms of the networking and the collaboration that occurs a lot of times between allied industry partners, tell us a little bit about how Purina plays with other allied industry partners and some of the things you're doing.
Yeah, and that kind of goes back to some of the networking that we can do through our involvement in NCBA. We've got some great partners. When you think about it, it's really kind of a small family of companies and people that are involved in animal agriculture out there. So it's a huge task that we have in trying to add to the sustainability of this industry. And so it just makes sense to leverage the human resources, the monetary budget resources that we have as partners in the industry. And so we try to work with the animal health suppliers, the equipment suppliers. A good example would be we're a sponsor this year of the Stockmanship and Stewardship tour that's going on out there.
Yeah.
And we talked about taking care of those animals, and we think that that's an important message.
Absolutely.
And so by partnering with some of those other allied industries, we can help bring that message to
and stay true to your overall purpose that Mr. Danforth set out many years ago, a very balanced approach, no doubt.